Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Becky Donaldson. I'm the ACE coordinator here at CCC, and I just wanted to put together hopefully a really brief video to share with y'all about time management strategies that are really specific to healthcare programs. I've been working with Ms. Waris to make sure that we are really building up our kind of academic and learning support for health sciences students. So I hope that you guys find this helpful. Okay, so to start off with, it needs to be realized that healthcare programs require a different level of time management than really all other programs. So, for one thing, the rigor and the grading scale is much more difficult. There's a lot more information in a shorter period of time. And the grading scale is not the same as, C's get degrees. You have a higher expectation according to the grades that you have to receive. It's super competitive and high stakes. You've all worked really, really hard to get where you are, and you want to stay where you are and continue to succeed. So much vocabulary. You are expected to learn and use new language simultaneously, which not every student is required. You're not just quizzed on the vocab itself, you're also expected to apply the vocabulary knowledge to individual test questions. That's a really different approach to learning than what many students or what you have experienced up until a healthcare program. The other major difference is the external regulations. So your education is subject to regulatory statute standards, accreditation regulations. There's a whole lot of accountability. And the whopper really is the amount of material versus the amount of time. You have so much that you have to get done in a limited amount of time, and that requires really specific strategies. So, typical traditional college time management wisdom is study 2 hours outside of class for every 1 hour in class. That doesn't cut it. That doesn't cut it in a healthcare program. It doesn't calculate the same. A credit hour in a healthcare program is not the same as a credit hour in an academic transfer program. You have additional clinical and lab time. So this kind of going wisdom is just not going to get the job done. So if that isn't going to work, what will? What's the solution? Well, it is absolutely essential that you are controlling your time rather than getting into that state of kind of assignments just washing over you and waves of panic and anxiety once you hit that level of panic. It's really, really difficult to learn anything new. And we have already established you have a lot to learn in a really short period of time. So, how can you make sure that that breakdown of stress and anxiety doesn't take place? How can you control your time and be in charge of that? So, the answer to that question is to have your planning be two things: task focused and backwards. Some of you may be familiar with both of those terms, and I would gather some of you are not. Okay, so task-focused planning is, rather than this idea of I'll study for 2 hours for every 1 hour in class, that's time focused. That's just assign time to a subject and work on it. You need task-focused time management. So what specific tasks are you going to need to do to prepare appropriately for a specific goal? So rather than, study for 2 hours, well, what study strategies work for you? Which ones are more effective for you? Which ones aren't? Flashcards are amazing for some people. For some other people, they're completely useless. So the trick is, as you continue to study and take tests, you figure out what specific tasks work best for you and plan accordingly. Okay, so what makes the planning backwards? First of all, you're going to start with the end goal. So you're going to start with, Module 1 test is on January 24th. Then you're going to identify the specific tasks it's going to take for you to be prepared for that goal or turn in that assignment or get that project done. From there, you're going to work backwards to plan realistically the time slots for each of those tasks that it will take to get you prepared for that end goal. So here's a real simplistic example of what that might look like. First of all, here's my hot take. Uh-oh, my camera's in the way of it. Well, I'll just read it to you and you'll have to forgive me. Okay, so first of all, if the end goal that we're working towards is the Module 1 test, here's a couple things to keep in mind. All general study prep should be finished 48 hours before that quiz or test, okay? So the last 48 hours before that test, what you should be doing is practicing test questions. Essentially, you're taking the test. You are creating for yourself or using, study banks of questions, test questions, and you are giving yourself that test. What this is going to do is give you, one, an opportunity to see what might be asked for that given module and how it might be asked. And what's covered up here with my little camera is what will rise to the surface is the concepts that you're comfortable with and the ones that you're not comfortable with, where are your weaknesses. Then you spend that time going over the weaknesses, leave behind what you already understand, and focus on the things that you need a little bit more time on. So for your backwards planning, you've got your Module 1 test, you've got your couple of sessions of practicing test questions built in. Okay, so all your review is going to be done by then. And before that, you're doing all these little steps that it takes to get to preparation for that test. So you've built flashcards, you've practiced the flashcards, you have previewed Module 1 in the textbook, and we'll talk in other sessions about what it means to preview a textbook and how that can be helpful to you. So this is, rather than, study 2 hours this day, study 2 hours that day, you're looking realistically at your end goal and what the specific tasks and time slots are to get you there. Okay, so here comes my second hot take that's also covered up with my video. Cramming the day before only gets info into your short-term memory. So we've all done this. We know how this feels. You might survive a test, but with the tests that you all are taking, just rote memorization isn't going to cut it anyway. You have to actually understand what you're talking about. So studying in smaller segments over more days previous to the test is going to help you commit those concepts to longer term memory, and it's going to help you relate new concepts to old ones, which is going to help you increase from memorization to understanding to applying to relating concepts to each other. All of that's going to increase your understanding of these concepts and increase your confidence when test taking. What also building in segments earlier before a test is going to let you do is test for understanding. So a real easy way to test for understanding is, can you explain a specific concept to a civilian? Can you explain it to me? I'm not a nurse and I'm not in nursing school. Can you explain it to your middle schooler? Can you explain it to a classmate and see if they can come up with some questions for you? Can you answer those questions? That's a great way to test for understanding, and what it will let you do is, again, see where your weaknesses are and know where you need to spend time. Skip the stuff you understand, skip the stuff that you feel comfortable with, and really focus on the things that you're not understanding as well. Okay, so this is an example that's less simplistic than the one that I showed you. This is, broken down by category. So some people, really like to color code things. So everything that's green has to do with, lab skills. Everything that's yellow has to do with, studying for a specific test, and blue is clinical stuff. You can separate things into groups, but the more you can actually see what deadlines are when and how to build out backwards to reach that deadline, the more you can get a handle on what has to get done and when, and figure out what's going to work for you realistically. Okay, backwards planning is essential. There is no way to juggle the demands that are on you without some of this ahead of time planning. However, there will be reasons that you won't want a backwards plan. Those are, it takes time up front. It does take time. It takes time up front to invest in thinking through your blocks of available time. You know, when are you not in clinicals or labs or class or dealing with family or doing all of the things that you're doing in your lives? Your brain's going to try to tell you, don't spend time doing this planning, just study. But this investment up front is going to help you survive. So reasons you should backwards plan anyway, even though your brain's going to try to tell you you should be doing other things. It will save your life. This is how you survive being in a program that has such a high level of rigor and requirement, is planning, planning, planning. So thinking through the tasks that it takes to accomplish a specific, assignment, test, project, that investment honestly is half the battle. Once you see all of that laid out in a way that is, as realistic as we can get it to be, your stress level is going to come down a little bit, because at least you've got a plan to stick to as best you can, instead of it just being chaos flying around, creating lots of anxiety for you. Okay, so big time management tips. Use a master calendar that includes all areas of your life. Many of you are juggling work, family, friends, other obligations. Having calendars that have all that stuff in one place is a must. Number 2, prioritize what absolutely must get done and what is negotiable. So which assignments are you need to get as close to that 100 as you can get, which ones are weighted less, how can you prioritize? How do you know where to really focus and where you have a tiny bit of wiggle room? Use all pockets of time. A 15-minute study session is great. Part of what's helpful with that is starting to really identify which tasks are useful for you as you're studying, and figuring out, where can I get 15 minutes in here and there. This is a hard one, y'all. Reduce high expectations in your personal life as much as possible. This might feel like a pipe dream, but as we established at the beginning, these healthcare programs are a different animal than lots of other kinds of college. So have a real talk with your loved ones, the people that support you, and say, hey, I'm going to be out of pocket for a little while. Remember, this is temporary. You can't see that, but it's right there. This is temporary. So ask for help wherever you can and from whomever you can. Let people know this is hard. This isn't regular college. It's temporary, and I'm going to need all hands on deck. Okay, summary, get a planner. Some people, I have to do like a paper planner. Some people love to use various apps. I can give you recommendations, or do a digital calendar. Whichever way it is, this stuff needs to get out of your brain and off the syllabus and all into one package that is reflective of your actual real life. We have some free ones in ACE. If anybody wants a paper one, we got you covered. In that planner, first off, include all class, lab, clinical time, other times that you are simply not available, and then identify what pockets of time are remaining for study. Those are the ones where you can pick specific tasks and build backwards. Again, prioritize what matters most. Where do you absolutely not have wiggle room, and where do you have a little bit? Plan backwards for all test prep, projects, assignments, etc. All right, remind yourself as you go through this semester, ask for help where you can. There are real reasons this is hard. You're not imagining it. Take breaks and deep breaths. That might be 10 minutes here and there, but you have to give yourself 10 minutes to breathe, take a walk outside, get a little bit of sunshine on you. You are still human. And what you can't see there next to the grad hat is this is temporary. This isn't forever. So it's appropriate to ask the folks around you for help and to go easy on yourself as much as possible, but also adjust the way that you do things in recognition that what's being asked of you is a lot. Okay, that's what I got. Brief was 15 minutes. That probably feels really long. But thanks for listening. We're really working on ways to support you all specifically, since it is a different animal from a lot of the other programs on campus. So please stay tuned with ACE for more learning strategies coming your way. And if there's anything that you need from us in the meantime, let us know.